All right. Good morning, everybody. We're here on a Wednesday morning. Snowy out there. Be careful if you're on the roads. It's going to turn to some nasty rain. And we bring in Paul Hamilton for his appearance following the Sabres' 4-3 thriller overtime win in Edmonton last night. Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Boy, what about that Parker team that beat Mike Shope to get in the playoffs this year of the Fantasy Football League, eh?
I was hoping you'd ask me about it, Paul. And it was tighter than it should have been with Hurts and his crazy antics in that game. We had Hurts and Shope, I believe, just had Goddard, and Goddard went off. And Hurts was a nightmare, but we just squeaked by. It was really it was quite something.
It worked out the way it should. Our last week, and it was what we do is we have two divisions of 5 teams, so we cross over. So like first place in one division plays second place in the other, and it just worked out perfectly for you guys because you were third place in the one division. Shope was fourth place in the other,
right.
And you two played each other, winner take all, to get in the last playoff spot.
It was good. It was, well done, Commissioner. I got to give you some props here.
Instead of one team playing a bad team and the other team playing the first place team, you played each other. So that's kind of the reason we do that is, just for that kind of thing.
Sort of
Hopefully it sets up those matchups that do it, and it worked out fine. So you guys get to advance and move on.
Yeah, we'll see if we last any longer. We've had a bit of a up and down year. Hertz has been a nightmare for most of it. So, anyways, getting into that hockey game last night, that was quite a performance, huh? That was the Sabres really came out and played really well for those first 2 periods, and then you saw McDavid and the Oilers really turn it on there.
But even in the third period, and you know what, Brian and I were having this discussion, and that game is exactly what frustrates a Buffalo Sabres fan who hasn't been in the playoffs for 14 years and watches his team just bumble and stumble through the season. But then they get to see that.
Right.
And first of all, there was adversity before the game even started. I mean, you got Zucker, you lose him, and he is a mainstay. He's a very important part of your team to injury. And then in warm-up, you have Norris sick, and then he slightly pulls something, according to Lindy Ruff. So you're expecting Norris to be in the lineup. He warms up, and now he's not in your lineup. So right away, you're like, oh, okay. Well, now we're missing 2 of our really important players. We haven't won in how many games? We've won 2 games on the road all year. You could have folded your tents there. But your best players showed up big time. I mean, Tage Thompson comes in, has a 3-point game, looked like Tage Thompson. Alex Tuck. More importantly than the overtime goal, I was more impressed with the face-off and him immediately going down into the zone, winning a battle, coming out with the puck, getting the Sabres possession in overtime, and getting the thing started.
Right, and that's so much of what I think Lindy has been frustrated with the lack of this season from this team is that it feels like you see glimpses of this hard-nosed brand of hockey that they find success playing, but they just cannot seem to consistently find that. And you feel like you can sense some frustration on his part on that.
But even in the third period, adversity struck.
Right.
Okay, you've got a 3-0 lead going in. You've held McDavid for 5 periods this season to nothing, and then 10 seconds in, McDavid becomes McDavid,
right,
and scores a McDavid type of goal. All right, it's 3-1. Well, now you're a minute 56 into the period, and there's another goal. Now it's 3-2. Now you played last night. You're probably starting to get a little fatigued. The fans are into it. It's 3-2, and they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps and figured it out. I mean, until 1 second left or 2 seconds actually left in the period, and adversity strikes again. A puck, sure enough, pops out right to guess who, McDavid.
Right.
And you got people laying on your goaltender, and so he's not getting over there. And he puts it in the empty net, and it's a tie game. So it's now, but still, now you've got more adversity. How did we blow a 3-0 lead? Now it's 3-3. and then it only takes you 33 seconds of overtime because Tuck, right off the face-off, goes out and wins it. And how did that make Ryan McLeod feel, former Edmonton Oiler, to make that beautiful pass to Tuck all alone in front to set him up for the goal? It doesn't matter that you gave the Edmonton Oilers a point. They're in the Western Conference. As long as you get 2, it doesn't matter if you win 3-0 or you gave up 3 goals in the third and you win it in overtime. So there were just so many things that they overcame. They played hard, I thought. Even in the third period, I thought they were playing hard. They faced the number 1 power play in the National Hockey League, a power play that was clicking at over 30%. And that power play went 0 for 4. Buffalo went 2 for 6 on their power play. So, I think I would say kudos for a great effort, but it gets back to what I originally said. Fans get to see what this team is capable of every now and then. And they're capable of playing very good hockey. And to go through a game where different things could have derailed them, but it didn't, and they found a way to win a hockey game. Alex Lyon had to come in. Their goaltender, I forgot about Ellis.
Yeah.
Ellis is playing well, makes 6 saves, and he gets run over, gets elbowed in the head. He has to go into concussion protocol, so in comes Alex Lyon, cold off the bench, has to make a really good save before the period's over. He only played, 59 seconds, but made a really good save before the period was over. And then picks up his first win since October.
Right. Which is, and that's been, us and Joe this morning, we started on the goalies, and I think we should stick there for a moment here. Mm-hmm. With Ellis getting knocked out, do you think there's any chance that this spells the end of their 3 goalie situation? Just Ellis gets hurt, you go, all right, let's wash our hands of this. Everybody's frustrated with the situation. Let's make a move here and make this happen. Do you think there's any chance they really just sort of stick with 2 now that Ellis is out for a little bit?
No, because you don't know with concussion protocol how long that's going to be. That could be a week. That could be, you might not remember, I think this might be before your time, but Tim Conley basically went the whole season where he had problems, and it kind of finished his career. He never was the same.
Right.
I mean, so I just gave you 2 sides of how bad it could be or how quickly it could be. No, I don't think it spells anything. But I'll tell you what, Joe, and you were in yesterday too. The guys asked me about if this doesn't fix itself by the weekend, does that mean the end of Kevyn Adams? And they made me think for a while. And I had texted Jeremy and I said, if you ask me again today, I probably will have a different answer. And even though they had a win, this has to stop.
Yeah.
You know what? It has to stop. If you're not planning on signing this general manager to a contract extension, and if they are, they'll come burn. I mean, the fans will come burn the rink down if they sign this GM to a contract extension. Then get rid of him. When they get back this weekend, get rid of him. End it now. Right,
because what are you going to let him run your trade deadline and
exactly.
make a decision on Tuck and make there's so many decisions to be made here, and that's exactly it, Paul.
Let's not let one win over the Edmonton Oilers where you were a gutty win, where there was a lot of effort and a lot of things to like. Don't let one win make you think that all of a sudden this is fixed. Now, next is the Vancouver Canucks, who are below you in the standings. There are not too many teams below the Buffalo Sabres.
Right.
I thought about this a lot yesterday. This has to end. Pegula has to put a stop to this. And it's not going to get any better. He does not have a good GM. It's into his 6th year. It's not working. This team still, again, a nice win, but we're watching a team that on December 10th has not even won 3 games in a row. Everybody wins 3 games in a row at some point.
Right.
Everybody.
That's just the league.
Yeah, And good teams probably have 2, maybe 3 streaks of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in a row.
Right.
And this team can't get past 2 in a row. So let's not get all mesmerized by this game. It was, again, full marks. They deserve a lot of credit for this game. But all this showed us is what they're capable of. But we don't see it on a regular basis. And that's what this owner has to ask himself. Why?
Right.
Why do we not see this on a regular basis? Why is this team so flawed? And then you get back to, because you have a guy who has never been a GM before in his 6th season with a team that probably is worse now than it was when he started. That's what he has to get back to. He's got to end this thing now and just move on to the next thing. Because, as you said, you can't have this guy running your trade deadline. Unless you're signing him to a contract extension. As I said, if they sign him to a contract extension,
that becomes that would, I think, make them maybe the biggest laughing stock in North American sports.
They already are.
Right.
You know what? I see players. I hear players mocking the Buffalo Sabres. They laugh at this team. This team is a joke. You know, whether it's media around the league or whether it's other players, this team is a joke. I've watched other players on the ice laugh at these guys, and I think to myself, how can you guys handle that? The other team's sitting over there laughing at you. And it's just the whole the whole thing is a joke, and I've seen it personally, and it's just, and I hate, it's just
it's frustrating, and it's got to be frustrating for the players themselves. Because I had this conversation with Bulldog last night. They work in a place that sucks, and they know it, and everybody around them knows it, and I absolutely empathize with. It's hard to go to work and struggle like that every day.
Absolutely is. Knowing here they are on December 10th, they know they're out of it. Right. They know they're not going to win 10 in a row. So now you have to go to work for the rest of the season, knowing that you are out of this. There are not going to be playoffs again. And it's the middle of winter, and you got to drag yourself over there. And people say you're making a lot of money. I understand that. They are. And, pull up your bootstraps, poor you type of a thing. That's what a lot of fans would say.
Sure.
And I understand. I'm not putting any fan down who says that. I understand. But still, they are human beings. And I believe them when they say they want to be part of the solution. Rasmus Dahlin has told me many times he wants to be part of the solution here. But it gets to a point when you've been here for 6, 7 years, it's like, oh, I can't. I've watched other guys leave here and win cups and be happy. J.J. Peterka was ecstatic. He had a mic on when he was here in Buffalo and standing next to Alex Tuck for the opening faceoff going, you wouldn't, this is crazy. Oh, they treat us so well in Utah. It's unbelievable. He's all excited and everything. And it's like, so the only way I think you retain the players and don't have a mass exodus of I want to be traded is if you change something quickly.
Right.
And put the whole organization in another direction to make guys like Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson and Alex Tuck not feel like all is lost.
Right. And what real quickly here before we leave, what would that look like for the Sabres? Who comes in? Is it just Kekalainen taking over as GM?
I don't think that's the end of the world. At least you got a guy who's done it for 10 years.
Agreed. I think anything they do will be a boost to the fan base and probably the players.
Yeah, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup or anything like that, but he also is bold. I mean,
right.
Who thought that Johnny Gaudreau was signing with the Columbus Blue Jackets? It wasn't even mentioned. And then all of a sudden, Johnny Gaudreau signed and is with the Columbus Blue Jackets, and everybody's jaw drops. Excuse me? Yep. So he's not against making a bold move to make a team better. And anything is better. And it would be only the 3rd time in Sabres history that they would have hired a GM with NHL GM experience. It's only happened twice. And it happened long, long before you were ever around. the first GM, Punch Imlach, was the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And Scotty Bowman was the GM of the St. Louis Blues when they were an expansion team.
Right.
That's it. Nobody else in Sabres history in the GM's position had been an NHL GM before being hired by the Buffalo Sabres. So that would be something new and different if they were to do that.
Yep. Well, we'll see how tomorrow night goes in Vancouver and see where they go from there. Thank you very much, Paul.
Nice talking to you. Take care.
All right. Paul's appearance on WGR is brought to you by Raylax Honda. Raylax, we got this.